Okay, for this question, it wants us to compare climbing and forest. So all I've started to do is split my page in half to make it a bit easier. Hopefully your teacher's gone over the PowerPoint with you so you have a bit more understanding. So let's start by focusing on the climbing. Now the information it gives you on the next page, 14 young people and 2 adults, and if you look, they are actually different costs for the young people, £7.50 and £10 for the adult. So we do have to work this out separate. So I'm going to start by doing 14 times by the cost, which is £7.50, and I'm going to do 2, because there's 2 adults, times by 10. This is going to give me 20. I'll zoom in a bit, use my calculator for anything a little bit trickier because it's there, so you may as well use it to help you. £105, and then I'm going to add them up, which is £125. So that there is the cost of the tickets or the entry, whatever you want to call it. Now we need to work out the cost of the travel. So what we do know, again, let's go back, is the minibus is £1.50 for every mile, but this is 73 miles there and 73 miles back. So obviously we've got to double the 73, which is 146 miles. I'm going to multiply that now by the cost per mile, which we just said was £1.50. So again, use your calculator if it's there to help you. Use it, and that gives me the cost of £219, so it's a bit steep. £219. So if that's the cost of the travel, that's the cost of the tickets, the total is going to be the 2 added together. 219 plus the 125, which gives me a total answer of 344 for the climbing. Well, now we've done that, let's compare it to the forest. So again, we know it's 14 times something, we know it's 2 times something, but they're going to be different prices. £18 then, slightly more expensive, and £20 for the adult. So we know the tickets are going to come to a lot more. So again, use your calculator, it's there to help you. 14 times 18 is £252. 2 times 20 is not too bad. So the total for the tickets or the entry or whatever you want to call it is £292. So at the moment, it's looking like it could be more expensive. However, it's a lot closer. 16 miles there, 16 miles back. So let's work out the travel. Well, if there's 16 there, 16 back, we've got to double that, which is 32 miles. So if it's a 32-mile journey, we need to do 32 times the cost, which is again £1.50. 32 times £1.50 is going to give me the answer of £48, so a lot cheaper now for the travel. So the total cost, and hopefully we can compare the two now, is 292 plus the 48, which gives me an answer smack on 340. So actually it's worked out cheaper. So what is my final answer? Well, if we zoom out down the bottom, my final answer is it is obviously cheaper to go to the forest. And by how much? Well, it's cheaper by £4. So a lot going on there for 6 marks. So let's find out where we can find our answers. Obviously 3 marks equally weighted for the 344 and the 340. But if you've made an attempt to find out the cost of the tickets, so you've multiplied here, but then you haven't quite worked out the travel, you're still going to get 4 out of 6 marks because this is 2 marks here. Okay, so loads and loads of marks available. So definitely worth having a go. Okay, a few different answers for this question. So I'm going to start by finding out which cards go in A and B. So well, that's quite easy to start with. There's only 2 cards there which can make a sum of 15. Sum is when you add. So which 2 cards can you only use to get to 15? Well, that's 7 and 8. So by here we have to have 7 and 8. That's them gone. So now here inside are 3 cards that must add to 10. So there's a few different combinations here. I'm going to go with the number 6. I'm going to go with the number 3. Oops. And I'm going to go with the number 1. 6 add 3 add 1 would give me 10. Now there's no criteria for these last 3, so what's remaining? 2, 4 and 5. Now you could have used different numbers here, so if you have, by here you could also have the answers of, write it down below, or you could have 2, 3 and 6, or 1, 4 and 6. Any of those are fine. Okay, now funny looking sort of grid by here, but we can use it to help us. Because they're in line, it just means they're equivalent. So 5 gallons in the UK, in Britain, is the same as 6 in America. So it's the same volume, but they're slightly different ways of measuring. So we now want to focus on 2.5 gallons. Well, 2.5 gallons is obviously half of 5. So half of 5 means you'd have to go here, which would be half of 6. And what is half of 6? 3. So a nice, easy 1 marker there to start with. Now the next one says convert 32.5 UK gallons. So we need to try and find out what 32.5 is in American gallons. Well, as you can see, our table doesn't go that far, so we need to make it up using these. 15 is a nice one to start with, because if we stick with UK over here, 15 in the UK is, sorry, not 18, in America is 18. So if we were trying to make this 32.5, so what I can do is double it, times by 2, which means I could double this, which is 36. So we've got our 30. Well, now we need the 2.5. Well, we wrote 2.5 in the previous question. So if 30, 2.5 we know is 3 gallons. So how could I find out how many American gallons is in 32.5 UK gallons? Well, it's going to be the 30 and the 2.5 added together. So 36 add 3 is going to give me the answer of 39. So you'll get 1 mark if you've doubled to get 30, and then obviously a final mark for adding the 2 together to get 39 gallons. Okay, if you know what 1/3 of a number is, how can you find 1/6 of a number? Well, there's a few different ways you can do it, but we could choose a number which we know 3 and 6 goes into. So I don't know, let's try 12. So let's find 1/3 of 12. Oops, 1/3 of 12. Well, 1/3 of 12 you divide by 3, so 1/3 of 12 is obviously going to be 4. Well, now let's find 1/6 of 12. Well, what is 1/6 of 12? Divide by 6 is 2. What have I done to 4 to get to 2? I've halved it. You could try with some other numbers. So we could try the number 6 maybe. So what's the third? 1/3 of 6 divided by 3 is going to be 2. And then what's 1/6 of 6? Well, divide 6 by 6 is 1. Again, what have we done to 2 to get to 1? We've halved it. So half divided by 2, any of them is acceptable. Half, they're all fine. 1 mark. Okay, well, first things first, is 2 meters of ribbon enough? This is in meters, these are in centimeters. So let's change one or the other. I'm going to change this one here to centimeters, 200 centimeters. So that's a good start. Now everything's in the same units, or you could change these to meters, but then you're dealing with decimals. Now, if we know the height of this is 20, we know that part of the ribbon needs to be 20. So going across along the top, that part of the ribbon needs to be the 40, because if there's 40, so is there. And then obviously it'd come back round the other side. So for this bit, it's going to be 40 centimeters plus 20 centimeters. But then I'm going to times that by 2. 40 plus 20 is 60, times that by 2 is 120 centimeters. So that's the first part. Then let's check the other bit. Well, this bit here is that part, this part here, which is 20 centimeters. Put a little arrow so you know what is 20, and then this bit here is going to be that part there, which is 25 centimeters. So again, I'll put a little arrow saying that bit's 25 centimeters. So it's 20, add the 25, then double it. So 20 add 25 and then double it. Put it in brackets because we've got to add it first. So that's going to give me 45, double that is 90. Well, now the total needed is obviously the two added up. So 120 add 90 is going to give me 210 centimeters. Well, we did change this to centimeters right at the beginning, so is there enough? Show how you know how. Well, we've shown how we know. No. So the answer is no, 10 centimeters short. As in, you would need 10 centimeters more. So for 1 mark there, it would have been the attempt to find out these. So you could have added the 40 and the 20, the 20 and the 25. That would have got you a mark, but then don't forget to double it. Second mark was for having an answer of 210, and then your third mark for clarifying your answer. Okay, any question involving profit means we need to first find out how much you make, then how much you lose. First you make in terms of your incomings. So I'm putting brackets here, income. So let's do that first. Well, if you sell 80 tickets, that's going to be 80 times by the cost of everyone. 80 times 10p, because that's how much each one is sold for, is going to give me the answer of £8 or 800 pennies, which you should know is £8. So you get a mark for that. Then it says they're numbered 1 to 80. Well, how do you, if the number on your ticket ends in 0 or 5, you win. So I'm going to go back to that in a minute. Now let's focus on the outgoings. Well, the outgoings is obviously every time you give away something. So we first need to figure out how many tickets we're going to be losing. So 0 and 5, they got to end in a 0 or 5. So the first one is obviously 5, then 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80. I believe that's it. So how many in total is there? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 tickets in total. So that means there's going to be 16 winners. 16 winners times by 16 winners times by how much everyone gets, which is 50p. So 16 times by 50 pence is going to give me £8 lost. So how much do they make? £8. How much do you lose? £8. So it's the £8, take away the £8, which obviously takes us back to 0. Therefore you have no profit or loss. You have broke even. Okay. To make a £20 profit, how much should each of the 80 tickets cost? Well, what you do know is you're going to lose £8. So if you are losing £8, to make a profit, remember profit is always the difference between how much money you receive from the tickets and then what you're going to lose. So the only way we can make a profit of 20 is if we add on the £8 to start with. So £28 is how much you have to sell the tickets for. Make a note of that. I have to sell all 84. So if we double check that, then now that we're selling 80 tickets, we need to do £28 divided by 80, because there's 80 in total, and that should give us a nice number, fairly nice number in terms of decimal, for the cost per ticket. So 28 divided by the 80 tickets is going to give me a decimal of 0.35. So we know that that is either 0.35 in terms of a pound sign, which is exactly the same as 35p per ticket, slightly more than the 10p we agreed, or they agreed at the beginning.